champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the gang trophy. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Extra Point, our first episode of 2022. I'm Lauro Antonio, and I'm joined by a newcomer today, James Gonzalez, and Ben Kirsch will be joining us in just a little bit. So, James, welcome to the Extra Point family. I mean, you've been a big fan of the MI6 Sports Network, and it's great to have you on our program.
And thank you for letting me be here today or tonight. Maybe an appearance by Isaiah later to talk about his Niners, but I'm ready to get this thing kick-started.
All right, so let's start off talking about the Patriots and Jaguars game. They put up 50 points against arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL, and talk about the Jags playing like, oh my gosh, like they've only scored like 10 points here.
Yeah, this is a tale of two teams in opposite directions. Patriots in the playoffs, they might get the division. The Jaguars, as we spoke in the pre-chat, they need a lot. And this offseason is going to be very important. They need a new head coach. They need a new set of players. And Trevor Lawrence, he leads the league in interceptions. Patriots, though, your Patriots and Mac Jones, he threw only 8 incompletions today, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. And then Stevenson ran the ball so well. He averaged 5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 107 yards. Harris had 2 touchdowns. So it was just a buffet of great things going on. Wilkerson even had 2 touchdowns receiving. Myers had 1, and even when it's good when your team puts up the backup quarterback. So Brian Hoyer got in for 3 passes for 63 yards. So overall, it was a great day in Foxborough, not in Jacksonville though.
Definitely not a good day in Jacksonville though, but for the Patriots, basically they're still in play for the division title. So all they have to do is beat Miami, and if Buffalo wins, which I think they're going to beat the Jets, I think the Bills are probably going to be winning the division, and I think that the Patriots, however, are going to settle with a wild card spot. I think the Patriots are probably going to be going to Buffalo here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's talk about your game next. The Las Vegas Raiders took on the Indianapolis Colts, and Daniel Carlson clutch again, and the Raiders somehow are still alive, and they're looking to just get in the playoffs. And all they need to do is win one more game and they're in.
Yeah, this year, of course, has been like hell, honestly. You had the whole John Gruden situation, Ruggs. You have a couple of players get kicked off the team. You have injuries. And then you have the loss of John Madden this week. So all that factoring in, the Raiders still had a chance. And it was a close game throughout, like many of them, except when they play the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be a blowout in the Chiefs' favor. But anyway, the defense I'm proud of. They only allowed Jonathan Taylor 108 yards. I know that sounds weird, but he could have more, and he only scored 1 touchdown. And I believe there was a stat saying when Taylor runs for over 100 yards, they're 9-0 or something like that. Well, guess what? They're 9-1 somehow. They didn't allow Carson Wentz to do much. I don't know if you were figuring he would do much, but he only threw for 148 yards and 1 touchdown. And as we spoke about Derek Carr, as he had 1 touchdown but 2 picks, he seems to do bad things, but when he does good things, it usually ends up in game-winning drives. And then Daniel Carlson, the dude has ice in his veins, since college. And I think Minnesota is kicking themselves, pun intended, that they didn't keep him around. But it's it's in the Raiders' favor that they have him. Hunter Renfrow, third down Renfrow, he had a big game. He didn't, he had only 76 yards receiving, but he had the big touchdown. I have to mention Zay Jones had a big game, eight receptions for 120 yards. So he was big in this game. And yeah, we're all looking forward to Sunday Night Football. That's been flexed. Las Vegas, Nevada, we got the Chargers and Raiders, and I can't wait for that game.
Oh, that's going to be a really good game. I think I would pick the Chargers, but I'm actually going to want to pick the Raiders to win. I think Derek Carr really wants to be in the playoffs so badly.
Yeah, he gets a scrutiny from the fan base and then from everybody else in America. It's really an odd situation where he could be there or could not be there. Heck, this might be the last Raider game that Derek Carr plays. You never know, depending on if he makes the playoffs or not. So even though the Raiders get the win 23-20, there's one more game to go. And it's a thing now with the Colts there. They have to win and they get in too. And I think we'll get more into that as we preview Week 18.
Yeah, when we get to Week 18. But I think Derek Carr will remain a Raider next year. I don't see him leaving the organization.
Yeah, a lot of speculation is going on right now. I mean, we can't even get through a full season without it. Remember, the Raiders were 3-0, and he was part of the MVP conversation, and then everything went downhill. Now the Raiders have won 3 straight. He's still not the talk of the town, but he manages games at least when he doesn't turn over the ball.
Talk about with John Gruden out, you got Rick Bisaccia as the interim coach. You got to take the interim tag off of him. I think he needs to be the full-time head coach of the Raiders.
I think since the college coaches who have come by and hung out with Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, none of them have been offered the job. So I guess that's a good thing for Rich Bisaccia. But, we'll see. There might be a better name out there. Not saying that Rich isn't a good name, a good guy. He's a tremendous guy. He gets guys fired up. Remember, he was the special teams coordinator, and they've been doing well with special teams. That'll be interesting. That's why the offseason is so interesting. You never know.
Absolutely. And then, anyways, we'll also get to talk about the Antonio Brown situation. I mean, he was shirtless after that incident that he had. And I'll tell you what, James, I think he's a good receiver, but his behavior is a question mark.
Yeah, his mental – I'm really worried about his mental health right now. I know it was all fun and games and memes and all that stuff. People were posting and all that. But when you think about it, he's had a string now of things he's done, on the field and off the field that has really hurt his career. And this might have been the last straw for teams in the NFL. I don't think you'll see him in the XFL. Maybe you will. The USFL this year, I don't think you will. But only if he's desperate for money. I don't know what his financial situation is. But I think with what you saw today and what he did, I think that's the last game you'll see him play in the NFL. That's my opinion, though. I'm not for sure on that, but that's what I think.
I don't think anybody wants him for what he did. I mean, Tom Brady was saying something about it, and obviously he felt kind of sorry about it. Knowing him being a former Patriot, and he'll always be my quarterback on the Patriots. But I'm really impressed with Mac Jones, and I think we found our guy after Brady.
Yeah, and my brother mentioned this, and I thought about it too a little bit after that. I said, if you can't work with Tom Brady once or twice, then you probably don't deserve to be in the NFL, because it seems like every receiver that gets with Tom Brady, they do well. And it was pretty much a no-name guy who caught the game-winning touchdown for Tampa today that made him defeat the Jets 28-24. The Jets, by the way, I saw in the highlights. I was watching other games, of course. The Jets had a 4th and 2 from the red zone, I think it was at least, and they were up 4. All they could have done was kick a field goal and make it a 7-point game. Instead, they went for a quarterback sneak that went for a loss, and that gave Brady and the Bucks so much time to come back on them and score that touchdown and win the game. And I guess it shows the resilience, Bruce Arians, who came back from protocol, and Tom Brady and the Bucks really have. It really shows what they can do with or without whoever.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think this was a really. I think the score should have not been that way, but I think that I just think that the Buccaneers should have blown out the Jets, but the Jets have been playing good football lately. They've been in games, but they're playing hard for Robert Saleh.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for a team that's in the draft, so to speak. You're just asking for effort. You're asking for spirit. You're asking for something, to play hard at least, to try and win games. Even though you might be tanking on the inside, but on the outside, you can't say anything. But I'll tell you what, the way this season has gone, this 2021 season, we've seen so many upsets. Remember, the Jets defeated the Titans in New Jersey earlier this year. So it shows any given Sunday, anything can really happen. So credit to Robert Saleh. I know he didn't get the win, but man, they showed a lot of fight today, and they had a lead against the Super Bowl champions. That's what I guess they can hang their hats on. If there's a moral victory, I don't know if you believe in him out there, but there's a moral victory. Take it or leave it.
Absolutely. That's a good moral victory there. That's for sure. But anyways, talk about the Rams beating the Ravens 20-19. It was a narrow win there.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Hundley of the Ravens. He was 20 for 32. He threw for 197 yards, and he threw for 1 pick. But on the ground, he gained 54 yards. He had important runs for first downs in this game. Devontae Freeman had a good day on the ground as well. Mark Andrews, you could tell he was getting frustrated because I was watching that game as well. But you could tell he was getting frustrated because there were spots that Lamar Jackson would hit Andrews with, and he just wasn't getting the ball, and you could tell he was getting frustrated. But I'll tell you what, we have to talk about Matthew Stafford, and he's off and on, and then he could be really off, and he can be on again. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but he also threw for 2 picks. And a lot of the picks that you've seen Stafford throw, they're kind of a question mark. Like, hey, what was your idea of going there when you had the first pick? I think he was going for Odell, but he was triple coverage way downfield. He had, I think, Kupp, and he had Jefferson open on slot patterns. Instead of going there, he went for the home run and threw a pick. So I'm worried about that as the Rams go into the playoffs. Can Matthew Stafford limit those turnovers? Because he has Cooper Kupp, and you gotta go to him. And he had a touchdown today. Beckham had an important one as well. The Rams nearly escaped, and that was a fun game. And being a Raider fan, I needed the Ravens to lose, so I'm happy the Rams took care of business today.
We got some comments here. So Ben Kerr says, "What's up, guys?" And Justin Bosman, our MVP of the show, also says Odell is balling, which I think he is. But I want to talk about the Bengals beating Mahomes and the Chiefs 34-31. What a game that was for Burrow. I mean, he had a little bit of a knee injury. He twisted it. He's fine. But talk about Evan McPherson kicking the game-winning field goal. And it was a tremendous win for the Cincinnati Bengals. You're on mute, James.
Okay, that kicker, Evan McPherson, rookie kicker, I believe. He's been in some dramatic moments where he's failed but mostly succeeded. Remember the first game of the season against Minnesota, he had a game winner. Then he lost the game against the Packers, and then he had some game winners. That shows a lot of guts to be able to kick the ball, through the uprights in those situations. This game, I thought, maybe it was going to be a blowout. At halftime, it was 28-17. They got a field goal just before the break, did Cincinnati. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, those two hooking up was awesome to see. You see that with the Chiefs, right? But their defense is so bad. Sorensen, he's getting beat over the middle by receivers. He's a secondary. I mean, he's a safety in the secondary, and he's getting beat a lot. Mixon didn't have such a great game because they were passing, and the Chiefs, I think, were centered on stopping the run, even though Jamar Chase, he had 11 receptions, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was so amazing. And Burrow threw for 446 yards and 4 touchdowns. Boyd had a touchdown as well. So if there's anything to worry about when it comes to Kansas City Chiefs, it would be their defense. Their offense, they can run the ball well with so many cast of characters in the backfield. And they could also throw the ball. But when it comes down to it, when it's playoff time, I wonder how their defense is going to do. Because they were doing well, and then they came into this game, and you thought, well, all they have to do is stop, Chase and Burrow, and they couldn't do that today. So that I thought coming into Sunday, that was going to be the game of the day, and I think it turned out to be the game of the day.
It did turn out to be the game of the day, and I think that the Bengals are for real. Great story. I feel like that the Bengals by next year, I think they could be ready to contend for chips in the near future.
Yeah, when you got to take steps. I think people thought, okay, with Joe Burrow and the Bengals last year, they were going to be where they're going to be. And, unfortunately, Burrow got hurt, but he came back this year, and he's put up some great numbers. Chase might be the rookie of the year. I know you'll probably say Mac Jones, but I think they're ahead of schedule. Wouldn't you agree? Getting to the division, I thought people were predicting them to win maybe 7 or 8 games, not be in the playoffs, but they surprised everybody and won their division the first time since 2015, I believe. So I'm happy for the Bengals, man.
It is good for the Bengals here. I mean, I think they just need to kind of help fix. They need to fix their defense, but I just think that the offense is there for the Bengals.
Yeah, defensively, Hendrickson, he's been awesome. He's come out of nowhere, honestly, and they also got some good players up front defensively. Secondary wise, you can always use some help there. I speak from experience from the Raiders. They've been changing safeties for so long and corners. And they found some great players, though, in the veteran market. So I'm hoping, I think the Bengals are hoping that some veteran players are on the market in the free agency list. And they're seeing what Cincinnati's building and say, hey, I want to be a part of that. And if I have to take less money, I will, just to see, as you said, maybe they'll start really contending for championships, but maybe they'll shock everybody this year. Maybe not. We'll see.
All right. So anyways, the next game we'll talk about let's talk about the Cardinals-Cowboys. So that was America's game of the week. The Cardinals needed to snap their losing streak, and they did so in a really big way. And the Cowboys, they had nothing to play for since they already clinched the division. The Cardinals, they still somehow found a way to win, and I think the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC East. But I just think that they're just not good against the Cardinals.
And this is what I heard. I heard Kyler Murray was 8-0 at Cowboy Stadium or AT&T Stadium, whatever they call it now. And he's now 9-0. He enjoys being home. He threw for 2 touchdowns today. They had Chase Edmonds, he was running well. I didn't see James Conner, though. I was hoping to see him back. But Wesley, the other tight end, had a great day with 2 touchdowns. This year has been crazy. Teams are either good at times and bad at times. It's all over the place with the Cowboys. They're coming in hot. And you would expect, hey, even though we clinched a playoff berth, we got the division, whatever, let's not let our guard up, especially at home. And they did. Prescott threw for 3 touchdowns, but it seemed like their defense can stop Murray. And then we have to talk quickly about the running game of Dallas. That was non-existent today. Elliott had 16 yards. Pollard only had 9 yards. I think we could have got more yards than those two today. Schultz only had 54 yards receiving. Lamb 51. Gallup had that crazy touchdown. Amari Cooper only had 3 receptions for 18 yards. He did have a touchdown. But I would have expected more from the Cowboys today. I was really disappointed. I know they only lost by 3, but it seems like a humongous loss by the Cowboys today.
It sure has. I mean, I think that if you look at it, Stephen A. Smith is probably laughing his head off already.
Yeah, he's going to have that cowboy hat on tomorrow, and we'll see about these playoffs. It seems like whoever has the best game will win, obviously. But a team can be hot coming in and just shut down. You would expect the Cardinals, after losing 3 games in a row, not having Hopkins, not having Connor, that they would just bow down to the Cowboys today. But the Cowboys were the one bowing down.
And then talk about Sunday Night Football.
Do we have
the Packer? I mean, we'll talk about it quickly. I mean, talk about the Packers beating the Vikings 37-10, and the Vikings just looked lost, and now they're officially eliminated from playoff contention. And I'll tell you what, James, I think Mike Zimmer's gone after this season. I think the Vikings are going to get a new head coach.
That is the rumor coming around ever since they lost a few games ago. And even coming into this season, it seemed like from the Viking fans that I talked to, even during the season, before this season, this was going to be a playoffs or bust season for Mike Zimmer. So in the game today, it didn't take much to beat them. They already had Cousins out with COVID or in the protocol, whatever it may have been. Sean Manaman was starting, and we know him from the Rams backing up, but he never really started games. Jefferson only had 58 yards receiving. Osborne was the one with the lone touchdown. The Packers didn't really need to do much today. The defense did well, but they didn't face Cousins, of course. And Cook didn't do much of anything. I don't think. Yeah, he had 13 yards only. Green Bay, Rodgers did his thing. He did enough to win. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon had 2 touchdowns. Now, those two in the backfield are amazing together. You got the Cowboys with those 2 running backs, and then you got the Packers with these 2. That's going to be fun. And then you add on Devontae Adams, who had 136 yards and a touchdown. Lazard did as well. The Packers are definitely stacked, and it shows you they're the class of the division. They already showed it by winning the division, but yeah, I think changes are coming to the Vikings. But I think Cousins will still be a Viking, but I don't think Zimmer will be there. And we'll see about the offensive coordinator, Kubiak, as well. We'll see if he gets the boot too.
Probably not. I think he should be the next head coach of the Vikings if they want to stay in-house, or they might want to go somewhere bigger. Think outside the box.
Yeah, that makes sense, But if they want to clean house, then you go somewhere else. But we'll see about his play calling, if they really enjoy it for a whole season or not.
And then talk about Monday Night Football. So the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns tomorrow, and I'll be on the call tomorrow on ColorCast. And it could be the final home game that we see Ben Roethlisberger playing.
I hope it is. I don't want to, make people mad at me about Ben, but he should have retired 3 seasons ago, honestly. He's never had speed before, really, but he literally has none now to get out of the pocket. And he holds on. This has been a thing his whole career, though. He holds on to the ball too long or whatnot. I hope this is his last home game, and I hope next week is his last game. I don't see him making the playoffs either, even though they have a chance. But a lot of things has to happen for the Steelers. That one tie game against the Lions are killing them. They should have easily won that game, but like I said, any given Sunday. So I think the Steelers are going to try to go all out for Ben. They're going to rush Baker Mayfield into bad situations, bad decisions, and throw picks. Baker Mayfield, I guess for one more year, he'll go for the Browns. But after that, we'll see if he's a quarterback for Cleveland. So I expect Ben to be passing a lot and the Steelers winning. But it'll probably be an ugly game.
It will be, but also while we're on air, before we move on to Week 18, we want to remember who we lost recently in the NFL. I mean, talk about John Madden passing away unexpectedly at the age of 85, and I bet Raider Nation was hit hard with that. And then also former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons and Denver Broncos took them to Super Bowls, and that is Dan Reeves.
Yeah, first with Dan Reeves. My first recollection of him, he was coaching the Dirty Birds, the 1998 Atlanta Falcons, and he got them to the Super Bowl. And the corniest thing I remember him doing was doing the Dirty Bird in Minnesota in that championship game. And then he had to face his old team and his old quarterback. And I know John Elway and Reeves had they had their feuds back in the day when they were together on the sideline. I don't know, Elway, kind of enjoyed that, but I know that Elway, kind of, I think he was sad today about Dan Reeves passing. And speaking of Dan Reeves passing, Reeves threw a touchdown pass in the Ice Bowl back in 1967. And then we knew him from the Broncos. The one thing that doesn't get talked about Dan Reeves was his time with the New York Giants. After the championship years, with Bill Parcells and Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms, he was there and guided them from the bottom to playoffs again. And then after Reeves left, the Giants were nothing. About John Madden, real quick, as I've said on the comments with all the MI6 shows and whatnot, coast to coast, he was football on television for everybody to admire and to enjoy. He was that voice you wanted to hear every Sunday when you knew he was doing a game, whether it was with Vin Scully, Gary Bender, Pat Summerall, Al Michaels. You had to tune in because he was going to give you the views of the game and the points of the game. And what I loved most, I think, he always pointed out the offensive lineman because he was an offensive lineman in college and a little bit in pros. So he really detailed players that were not getting the notoriety. So Larry Allen was a great offensive lineman. John Madden loved all those tough guys. That's what the All-Madden team was all about. So he really gave praise to the offensive linemen. And it was cool seeing the tributes today. Tony Romo had his little telestrator going. Fox NFL Sunday, the pregame show had the markings going today. So it was closure, I guess, but we definitely got the best of him, and I hope that Victoria Madden, his 2 sons, I know they're missing him more than we're missing him for sure. So definitely, rest in peace to both. And they're both, Reeves and Madden were both key components to NFL history, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. So, anyways, now we're gonna what we'll talk about next. I mean, talk about the Raider legends like John Madden. I mean, he and Ken Stabler, the original gunslinger, were a good head coach to quarterback combination, and then talk about Tom Flores with Jim Plunkett.
Yeah, the funnest thing I found out with Ken Stabler and John Madden is that we knew about Ken Stabler. He loved to party. You know, he would have like 3 hours of sleep before game day and then go out there and dominate, right? He and John Madden had a cool relationship because John Madden would let Stabler call the game. You know, do whatever the hell you want to do. Just don't mess up, you know. And I always loved that, and I know a lot of quarterbacks don't get that right. Peyton Manning did. You know, he got to call his own plays. You know, remember he had all those audibles calling and whatnot. The relationship with Tom Flores and Jim Plunkett was special because that was a Latino Mexican grouping there, and that was very prominent in that time. And they won 2 Super Bowls together. And Tom Flores, you know, I was so happy when he got to the Hall of Fame this year. And that's all I really wanted. And there's so many more Raiders that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Cliff Branch in that 70s era with Madden, he should have been in the Hall of Fame already as a receiver. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I'm hoping he gets in this year. But when you talk about all those guys I mentioned, and there's so many more, you know, I could have a whole show about that. They're in that era that Madden coached and Flores coached. You had so many Hall of Famers during that time, so many victories. And as a Raider fan, I'm begging for just a little of that, a little winning consistency nowadays. But there's always the history of that, and I'm happy that's on my side at least.
And then we got a couple questions here. Let's start with Isaiah's question on here. So he says, is Vic Fangio done in Denver, gents? I'll start with that. I'm going to say the Broncos have shown a little bit of improvement with Fangio, but is it enough to keep him in Denver? I would say yes. I mean, if he has the right quarterback, then I think that the Denver Broncos will have a chance to compete in this very, very tough AFC West. James, I know you have a rivalry with the Broncos. Is Fangio done in Denver?
I would say yes, and then I would think Pat Shurmur would be done too, because we've seen, okay, the defense is just fine. You know, Bradley Chubb, they have some other young guys on that defense who does so well. It's the offense. It's, you know, Teddy Bridgewater is doing okay, but we've seen nothing from Jerry Jeudy this year. Last year, his rookie year, he did some things that were great. He's hardly done anything. It's been Cortland Sutton, you know, Noah Fant, Tim Patrick. But they got to get Jeudy going. And I think with a new offensive mindset, a new coordinator, and then maybe with a new head coach, everything will start working better. So I think he's gone, as well as Pat Shurmur. And then as Chrissy Wilson, as John Alcorn would say, you know, fire John Elway and all that, you know, screw John Elway, hashtag. I'm wondering how much power John Elway will still have on the GM there, you know, and they go out and draft or trade for a quarterback that doesn't fit, but John Elway loves him, or the opposite. They get someone finally that will fit and that will get certain people the ball at the right time. So like I said, the defense is great how it is. You know, you can't really change it. You can't really make it better. But the offense, you got to have a new play call mindset. So I'm going with yes. He's gone.
Probably, and if he is gone, then I think he could be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings if Mike Zimmer does indeed get fired.
Yeah, I'm wondering, well, what will work with the Vikings too? But I like what you said. And speaking of Kubiak, Garrett Kubiak was a coach in Denver, and the offense coordinator a long time ago before that. I wouldn't mind Gary's son being the head coach in Minnesota, or even in Denver. They give a young guy a shot. We'll see.
All right. So, anyways, we have a question from Justin Bosman, and he says, "Will there be more Madden video games?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." I mean, I don't think EA Sports will stop making those video games, even if John Madden passed away. They want to continue to honor his legacy by continuing to make more Madden video games to teach young fans how to play the game of football in a video game formation. So, I'm going to say, to answer your question, Justin, I think that we'll see more Madden video games. We want to honor John Madden the right way.
Yeah, definitely. There will be a game every year. It's just that I know John Alcorn had his thing about Madden football or whatever, the video game. It seems like nothing's really changed about the game. It seems like it's the same graphics, it's the same stuff. You can't really change much about it. And maybe it's lost its lore just a little bit. But I think one thing would help the game now and in the future is that you bring back the old classic rosters back, the old teams. I think that would be great if they did that. But they're so focused on, the VC and the money side about it that I just hope they continue to do Maddens, but do it better. Let's just say that.
So you're saying is that you think that there will still be games being made?
Oh yeah. I just hope that they put some throwback element into it, because the kids know about the players nowadays and whatnot. But it would be cool if there's some history lessons in there, and like I said, some old rosters like there was back on like the PS2 and the PS1 games. You could play classic teams. I think that'd be cool. And then have like a Madden team nowadays. I think that'd be awesome. You have the toughest 22 players, 23, 24 if you want to add a kicker, if you don't want to. If you add those guys on an all Madden team, I think that'd be awesome as well.
Talk about the Madden 23 cover. I think it should be John Madden with the Oakland Raiders as the head coach when he was lifted up in the air.
Yeah, and that was the cover back, I think, in the Hall of Fame edition when he got into the Hall of Fame. I think it was Madden 07. Yeah, 07. And there was a special, you had to buy a special game for that because I think someone else was on the cover. Anyway, that should be the picture, and I hope a lot of kids get that reference. They get why he's on there and not their favorite player. But I think that'd be a great tribute, and I agree with that.
All right, now let's get to the fun stuff. We got two really good Saturday games. We got one AFC game and one NFC game on ESPN and ABC. So, anyways, let's predict who's going to win the first game over on ESPN and ABC. I think I'm going to say we got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos, and Pat Mahomes. And then if Teddy Bridgewater comes back, he probably will start. So probably not. Maybe you give Drew Lock another chance to start if he's healthy, because the Broncos just got beaten up by the LA Chargers. So I'm going to say my pick this game. I'm going Kansas City to win this game. I think they'll beat Denver.
Yeah, that's the consensus pick. And they need the game, too, because Tennessee is now ahead of them in the seeding-wise. But I think Kansas City will come out with importance. The defense has to get stops. Sorensen has to play better. Tyrann Mathieu has to play better. The secondary has to. Chris Jones has to get pressure up front on a timid offense that is the Denver Broncos. You know what would be great to see, and would maybe save Vic's Fangio's job if they won this game. If they're not thinking how we're thinking, or at least how I'm thinking, where hey, it doesn't matter, he's gone after this year. Then Drew Luck, or if Teddy plays, I don't know. I'm not sure if Bridgewater plays, but if Drew Lock is able to have a special game, he's got to get Judy involved. The running game has to do something with Melvin Gordon. All the offensive spotlights has to shine in this game in order for Denver to win. But excuse me, I think Kansas City will outscore him and win pretty soundly.
Oh, yeah, they will win pretty soundly there, that's for sure. So, another question from Justin. He says, does Russell Wilson go to the Broncos in the offseason? I'm like, that could be a possibility, but at the same time, I think Russell Wilson will stay in Seattle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't see him leaving anywhere else. I know there was the question with his camp and all that, harassing the Seahawks, saying, oh, he wants out if things don't get better. And honestly, and I hate to say this about the Seahawks, I hope things get better from here. They finally had a losing record, the first one since 2011. I think that was the first year Pete Carroll took over. I hope things get better, but right now things in Seattle looks bleak. I think that's why you have all these trade rumors about Wilson. But I think he stays loyal. I think he stays there, and he rides out the rest of his career in Seattle. I don't see him going anywhere.
Same here. So anyway, Stephen Wang, our producer of the show, said something here. She said, sad to see the Viking season to an end, but this is what you expect from the Cousins and Thielen-less Vikings. Plus, we finally have clarity that Zimmer has got to be fired. An absolutely lack of energy from the top of this organization, from a defensive head coach. No excuses. #last ride. And he also said, big shout out to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, fighting back like the Ohio State Buckeyes did in the Rose Bowl this afternoon. They are legitimate AFC title contenders. That's what I said. And then he also added that trade Russell Wilson to Minnesota or Cleveland. Kill two birds in one stone. One guy needs a fresh start, and another organization needs new life.
Oh, I don't know if they'll trade him to Cleveland. I think Cleveland is still stuck on Baker Mayfield, regardless how the season ends. And then Minnesota, money-wise, I think they're going to keep Cousins and ride with him and hopefully get, Zimmer out of there, I guess, and have a better offensive mind come in and do better. That's the hope with the Vikings. Right now, their defense, they got to draft some defensive players that will provide a spark. If they don't, Minnesota's in big trouble for the future. Offensively, they're fine. Although Thielen, he got hurt, I know, this year, and I'm wondering about the rest of his career and how many solid years you'll get of him again. So I think I'll go with I won't go with any of those trades, but the offseason provides so many crazy things. The draft comes with so many crazy possibilities. So if a quarterback gets traded, it'll be a fun topic to talk about. I think Loro is there. Maybe not. Okay. I guess we'll talk quickly about Week 18. We were on that about the Chiefs and the Broncos. The next game that's on Saturday is the Cowboys and Eagles. And what you saw from the Cowboys, I think Loro will be back pretty soon. If you want to hear me talk solo, here's your opportunity. The Cowboys obviously had a bad game today. They couldn't get the running game going. Philadelphia survived against Washington, and that was a task. They got the win, and Philly's in. Cowboys are already in. They won their division, but they got to come out better, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm happy to see the Eagles play better. Got the coach in there, the new coach Nick Safransky, Scafiani, whatever his last name is. I'm happy to see him do well. And as I mentioned, I think on the MI6 or Coast to Coast, wherever it was, everybody was down on Jalen Hurts. Like he had no future whatsoever, right? I told people, I said, hey, I still believe in Jalen Hurts. I think he can still do well in this league. And Lowell's back, right?
Yeah, I am. So,
Okay.
anyways, so I picked.
I was talking about the Cowboy game. I figured you were going back to that.
So I'm going to say that I picked the Chiefs to beat the Broncos, and now let's talk about the Cowboys and Eagles game at 8:15 Eastern time here. So, anyways, I'm going to say I picked the Cowboys to come into Philly and get the win here, James.
That would be a great thing. And I was mentioning while you were away that, Jalen Hurts, a lot of people were giving up on him the way that this season has gone. But the Eagles, they fought back. Their defense is great. They've been getting stops. Now, it was a tough game in Washington today, but you know how those divisional games go, right? Where anything can happen. But the way that the Eagles have come alive lately, and the letdown for Dallas today just really sinks them to me. And I know that Philly crowd is going to be hyped for a divisional game, and I know they really hate Dallas. So that's going to be an interesting matchup at the link, and I'll go with Philly as well.
All right. So, anyways, let's talk about the Sunday games here. Start with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I mean, this could be Ben Roethlisberger's final game in the NFL, and I'm actually going to go with the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, and I just saw your message on the private chat. I was so into the teams. Anyway, it's fitting that the last game for Ben would be against the Ravens, because those two teams have had a rivalry for some time, and Ben's always been the starting quarterback in that time, other from Tommy Maddox and Charlie Batch, and throw whoever you want else in there. But it's only fitting against Baltimore. And I think the Ravens showed today that they can play a little defense, and they might really frustrate Big Ben next week. So that will be interesting to see. I think it's so early. I hate predicting games this early, but I think the Ravens close this one out. I think they win.
And then the Battle of Ohio, as Stephen Wang said, that the most interesting exhibition matches this upcoming week are the Bengals, Browns, Vikings, Bears games. These are the teams that are just in limbo, waiting of their misery of their season to end. It'll be fun to see the backups get their reps and have a chance to play their way into meaningful football. So in this game, I'm going with the Bengals in this game.
Yeah, it's funny that Stephen Wayne mentioned exhibitions. That's what I called the playoff games in NCAA, but because they felt so out of touch or whatever. But it's true with the Browns; they're just playing these last two games out since they've been eliminated. But I'll tell you what; these are two opportunities for Baker Mayfield to not turn over the ball, to make better decisions, not to throw picks, not to put his team in a bad position to lose. For the Bengals, you just want health. You want everybody to it's funny, though. I can also see a Bengal blowout. I don't know why, but it's just the way the teams are going right now. The Bengals are here and the Browns are here. It's the opposite of the state. Cleveland's here, Cincinnati's here. Well, it's opposite in NFL rankings right now.
All right. I think now talk about the Packers and the Lions. So the Packers might even rest Aaron Rodgers in this game. So if that were to happen, then Detroit will probably win. So I'm going to still go with the Green Bay Packers to win this game.
I really hate games like this, and I hate the people betting would hate games like this. But I think it would be a great thing if the Lions did win this. I don't think Jared Goff will play, but we'll see. His backup has done okay, but it would be a great stepping stone for Dan Campbell after today's loss, the big loss to Seattle to beat Green Bay. But yeah, I don't think Rodgers will play. Adams. They shouldn't play Aaron Jones either. I'm always worried about running backs. This is time for Jordan Love to get some exposure. Because we still don't know about Aaron Rodgers. I was talking with my brother during the Sunday night game, right? And I thought, hey, Rodgers and Adams, they still might win out after this season. As crazy as the offseason was, it doesn't sound so crazy. But it kind of sounds crazy now because of all the success they've had this season.
Actually, if you look at it here, I heard that the relationship with the Packers and Rodgers has gotten better, and I think Aaron Rodgers is most likely going to stay in Green Bay.
And that's a good thing because without him, they're at the Chicago length or Minnesota. That makes the division winnable, for anyone except Detroit. But just in case things go awry and Aaron Rodgers has a change of heart, like he sometimes does about everything, Jordan Love gets a chance to do some work, and I'm interested to see what he can do.
All right. So anyways, now with that being said here, the next game we're going to talk about is the Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. Houston beat Tennessee already, but I think that the Titans have nothing to play for. I think they should just save their bullets for the playoffs, and I'm going with the Houston Texans to win this game.
I'll go with the Titans, and, they have the number 1 seed, and I know they're trying to keep it. So I expect them to go full throttle. I really like what Ryan Tannehill did today. He played solid from what I remember, pulling up the stats against Miami. Of course, that says reloading. But I'm worried about the Titans with their running game, and I'm wondering if Derrick Henry will come back this season. I'll be interested. Have you heard anything about Derrick Henry coming back?
He's actually going to be back for the playoffs, and with the Titans already clinching the division, for a second year in a row, he's probably going to be back for the playoffs.
And you know what would help if they get that first seed and they get a bye week? That would really help if Henry is slated to come back like you say he is. That would really help. That'd be awesome.
Oh, of course it would be awesome.
I mean, who comes back from that that fast? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy to think.
Yeah, for the Texans, hey, they're just playing for pride. David Mills, he's been putting up some good numbers lately, along with Brandon Cooks. That was the one player I was very shocked that he didn't get traded by the deadline, Brandon Cooks. I thought he could have gone to another team and help someone's playoff chances get better, like Cleveland or the Raiders or even San Francisco. But I guess nobody wanted him, so he's putting up numbers, and he's putting up numbers with Houston, and he's winning people's fantasy games too.
Yeah, he is winning some fantasy games too, and I think he's doing it the right way,
without winning.
All right. So, anyways, with that being said, here now, we'll talk. The next thing we're going to talk. The next game we're going to be talking about here is the next thing we're going to talk about is the Jaguars taking on the Colts in Jacksonville, and I'm going to say this is not a game that we should be talking about a lot. I'm going to go with the Carson Wentz and the Colts. I think they're going to need this win badly.
I want to keep it to like 3 sentences about this game, but I probably won't. The Colts, they have to win to stay in. So I expect Jonathan Taylor to run over the Jags. I just hope Trevor Lawrence doesn't get benched in this game. The Colts defense is pretty good, as we've seen as of late, even though they lost to the Raiders. But they played the Cardinals well, and Patriots, they played well. Darius Leonard is a beast. Moore, and they have the other cornerback. They have 2 Pro Bowl cornerbacks there. They're absolutely going to shut down Jacksonville next week, and it'll be fine. It'll be like a resting place finally for the Jaguars to just go away and then come back next season, as Isaiah's here with his 49er shirt. And the Colts are going to win that one pretty easily.
And Isaiah, welcome to the show here. I mean, if you're just joining us here, tell us who you want to win between the Colts and the Jaguars here in this Week 18 matchup.
I want the Jaguars because I like Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think they will win because I think the Colts have a lot to play for, so I don't think they will rest their players. And I think that Jacksonville just doesn't have any talent on offense. Their play calling is terrible on offense and defense, and they just need a whole another reboot. And I think that they're just waiting for the season to end to get a different coaching staff in here to develop Trevor Lawrence and get more talent in. And then, I think next year is the year I think you will see the Jaguars finally take off.
But they're not going to win they're not going to win the division next year, right?
No, if you're a Jaguars fan, you want like a wild card because you know how like the wild cards now there's like 3 of them. So it's kind of like the NBA playoffs in a way where in the AFC, it's kind of weak, especially down in that middle tier area. So I mean the Jags, if they get the right coach, if they get the right talent, I think that they could make a run at the wild card. But you definitely need to start with some baby steps and some progress.
The ceiling is the roof, and the Jaguars, that's like 5 wins for next year. Baby steps until full grown.
All right. So anyways, the next game we're going to talk about next is the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Both teams are already eliminated from playoff contention. And Isaiah, I'll start with you since you just came on. I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game just to play for pride, play for Mike Zimmer. I just think the Bears in this sense, they've just given up. They just can't wait for the offseason to start.
Is it in Minnesota or is it in Chicago?
In Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings because I think that the Vikings, Kirk Cousins will be back in this game after clearing the COVID protocols. They're just more talented than the Bears. And I just think, like you said, Laurel, I think the Bears have just given up on the season. I think that they just want to get this game over with, get to the offseason, and then fire Nagy and start all over. And for the Vikings, I think Zimmer is definitely gone. I think tonight was the night that sealed it for Mike Zimmer, and I think that he's had a good run in Minnesota, and he's going to be gone after this Sunday or next Sunday's game.
And then James, who do you like in this game?
Definitely the Vikings, and I think this is the last game for Allen Robinson III. Or the second for Chicago. He's going to find pasture somewhere else and really enjoy that more than his time with the Bears. Maybe he'll find a better offense to be in. He'll find a better quarterback system, and And the Vikings, they'll probably put all their backups in and just win, and it won't be an entertaining game. Sorry to burst everybody's bubble, but it'll probably be an ugly game.
And now the last 1 o'clock Eastern time game. The Washington football team taking on the New York Giants. Both teams have had really bad seasons. Both of them are eliminated from playoff contention. I think the Washington football team needs to find a quarterback of the future so that they can start winning ball games, build a winning culture. They have the talent to do so. They can't wait to get Chase Young back. And I think that the Washington football team's defense will actually be even better when Chase Young comes back. And I'm going to pick the New York Giants to win this game just because I want to make sure that these guys play hard for Joe Judge. And I want Joe Judge to stay as a head coach for the New York Giants. And Isaiah, I'll go with you on this one. And who do you like between Washington and the Giants, and why?
I think this game is going to be a close game because these two teams are both out of it. Divisional games are always close, especially in the NFC East. And, I got to go with Washington just because the Giants quarterback, their options are just awful. I mean, Glennon, like every time he comes in, he looks like Nathan Peterman. He throws like so many picks. And then Jake Fromm, when he had his start, he was like six of like 15 for 25 yards. Like, how does that even happen? And
Bring back Eli Manning.
Yeah, and one interception as well. Like, I don't know, man. The Giants, their quarterback situation is awful. Today was a really, really ugly loss for the Giants, and I think that next Sunday's game between the Giants and the Washington football team, I think it's going to be the last game for Joe Judge. I think the Giants are going to fire him after the game is over, or after the season is over, because the Giants just don't have any patience. It's like every 2 years they just fire their coach, and then they fire their coach again. And I think John Mara also. He had a very interesting quote when Pat Shurmur was on the hot seat 2 years ago, and they asked him about why do you give a GM more longer of a leash than you give a head coach? And he said, coach, 2 years, you can kind of see if it's working or not. GM, you have to give him more time. So I just don't see it really working out right now for Joe Judge, and I think he's going to be let go after the game on next Sunday, because I think today was the dagger for him, because you're playing the Bears. Come on, you're playing the Bears, not a good team at all, and you weren't even competitive in this game.
Yeah, absolutely, Isaiah. And then talk about you, James. Who do you like between the Giants and the Washington football team?
Well, the game is secondary to the offseason of the Giants, of course, and Black Monday. Where all the coaches get fired. I think the Giants should just, they're going to bow down in this game anyway. It might be a field goal battle, but after a while, Washington will score some points. I think Heineke is a fine quarterback going forward, unless somehow you can get better via trade or draft, but that's their only viable option at that position right now. And like you said, Loro, I missed Chase Young. He was awesome on that line. He had so much energy. He was active. His sound bites were funny on the sideline. And I really missed him this year when he got hurt. And I think Washington will win, no doubt. Now, I think if you're the Giants, you go all out. You fire Dave Gettleman, the GM. You release Daniel Jones. You clean house. You get rid of Joe Judge. You find Saquon Barkley a place with a trade to somewhere else. And you start a whole rebuild. And you make sure you get it right this time via the draft. You see what you can get for Saquon Barkley. But I guess for the game, Washington.
All right. So, anyways, now that being said, folks, now we'll talk about the next game we're going to be talking about next, folks, is that we're going to go on to the 425 games. Let's start with the first 425 game. The Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And obviously, Isaiah, you have called them the Sea Chickens all year long. And I'll tell you this. I think with this game, I'm picking the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to find a way to get in the playoffs somehow, and I think that they will get. I think that they're going to get in.
For me, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals because they're at home and because I think that Seattle is just going to lay down and they're just going to give up because I think that they know that either Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson, one of those two, or maybe both of them, who knows, will not be in Seattle next year. There will be major changes in Seattle. I think they lost like 10 games, 11 games, I want to say, this season. And it's just been a terrible season for Seattle. They don't have any draft picks coming up because they traded them all for win-now players. So their future is kind of bleak. And I think Seattle's headed for a reboot in the in a week.
And what about you, James? What do you think? Who do you like to win in this game here?
Yeah, Seattle improved to 6-10. The game, again, is just nothing. I hope Russell Wilson goes out kind of like he did today, and he throws for touchdowns and whatnot. I think the Cardinals are just they're gonna rest their players. They're not gonna play hard or anything like that. You'll see Josh McCown maybe play for the Cardinals, hopefully. And in a game like this too, when you're going to the playoffs, you don't want any injuries to your main guys, and I think they're going to try to avoid that. The game, I'll go with Seattle. It seems like the Cardinals are ready for the playoffs already with that win today, and they're just wanting to get to the playoffs already. So I'm gonna go with Seattle.
All right. So, anyways, now let's talk about the Saints and the Falcons in Atlanta. And I'm going to say here, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons to win this game. I mean, I think the Falcons have played hard. They're going to finish the season off on a good note. And I think that Matt Ryan deserves another chance in 2022 with the Atlanta Falcons. So, Isaiah, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm going to go to church every single day this upcoming week and pray to the Lord that the Falcons win this game because – I don't want to reveal my pick for the Niners-Rams game when we pick that game, but, man, I don't understand how the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the 7th seed right now, manages to clinch a playoff spot before the 6th seed 49ers. It makes no sense whatsoever. Plus, the Niners own the tiebreaker over the Eagles, so that makes no sense. Like, it's so crazy how strength of schedule and all of that stuff works in the NFL, but now it comes down to this. If the 49ers beat the Rams, they're in. But if the Niners lose to the Rams, the Saints beat the Falcons, then the Saints will get in because the Saints apparently have a better conference schedule or something over the Niners. But it's, I hope Atlanta wins, but I think it's going to be the Saints. I think the Saints, they're going to be playing this game like it's the Super Bowl because if they win and, the Niners with Trey Lance against the Rams, they lose, then they're going to get in. So they definitely really want to win this football game. And I think Atlanta, even though they've given the Saints problems, Atlanta's just it's a miracle that they're even at where they are right now. I mean, Atlanta looks horrible. I mean, their offensive line is terrible. The Saints pass rush, I think, will get to Matt Ryan all day in that game. And I feel bad for Matt Ryan because, I mean, if this is your last game in the ATL, I mean, that's a terrible way to go out getting sacked like 8 to 10 times because that offensive line is going to be bad. And then you're facing a Saints defensive line, which is one of the best in the NFL. So that's not a recipe for success at all. So give me the Saints. But I'm going to go to church this entire week, every day, and pray that somehow, some way, we have a miracle in the ATL and that the Falcons somehow pull this one off because I really want my Niners to get into the playoffs.
And then and what about you, James? Who do you like between the Falcons and the Saints?
I agree with Isaiah there with the Saints winning and how they're going to treat the ball game. I look at this maybe as the last time Matt Ryan plays for the Falcons. And mainly that's hope from me because I want him to go somewhere else and try to get back to the playoffs. He's deserved that. After the Super Bowl that they gave up and then all the years after of just really nothing. I think he deserves one more shot, and whether that's with Denver or another team, I would like to see that. So this might be a melancholy day in the ATL.
It might be. So anyway,
that's some crazy scenarios Isaiah pulled up though with the 49ers and the Saints. I thought, oh, the Saints are out of it. They have no darn chance. They have Ian Book as the quarterback. But who knows? But that's crazy. This season has been wild, Isaiah, with all of the playoff scenarios. And now we're at the last part where, hey, if you didn't win your as many conference games as your other team that's with you, well, you're screwed if you lose. That is wild to me.
Well, and my thing that I have a problem with is how on earth does the Eagles score the 7th seed? I know they have the same record as the Niners, but I think the Niners have tiebreaker over them because they beat them in week 2. How on earth does the Eagles, who are 9-7, I think the Eagles even have the Saints have the tiebreaker over the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. But how on earth does the 7th seeded Eagles clinch a playoff spot before the Niners and the Saints? How does that even make sense?
It really doesn't.
Yeah, James, I don't know. I don't think, have you ever seen something like this where you have the team that's down at the bottom or the last playoff spot clinches it before the team that is above them? I've never seen that.
No, and I didn't think the NFL was thinking that was going to happen when they added another playoff spot. So that hit them as a surprise too. But it goes to show you too, though, when the Eagles needed it the most, they somehow got the wins. Yeah. And the 49ers, hey, through all of their issues, with injuries, with Jimmy G's thumb injury, it's his throwing hand, right?
Yes, it's a throwing hand.
Oh, God. See, I'll tell you what, though. I know we didn't go – me and Loro didn't go over the 49er game, and quickly I wanted to with you because I knew you wanted to talk about it. Trey Lance, he looked pretty good. There was a little sluggish start, but he rolled out. He made some plays happen. The defense did well. I know it was against Houston, but General Mills, David Mills, he was doing fine before he met the Niner defense. But you got a good conversation about the game today?
Yeah, I actually thought that in the beginning that the defense really held it down for the 49ers, because if the defense did not play the way it did, with how bad Trey Lance and the offense was struggling, I thought the Niners were going to lose that game. In fact, I even told a coworker this when Houston got the football, I think with about a minute 40 left in the first half, and the 49ers were trailing 7-0. I was like, oh gosh, if Houston scores here, if they score a touchdown, it might be over, because Trey Lance was just flat out struggling. He was so bad in this game, man. He was overthrowing receivers left and right. When guys were to the left, he would throw it to the right. On the interception that he threw, he had George Kittle, I believe, wide open. Nobody's covering him on the right side, and he tries to throw it to, I believe it was Deebo Samuel, and he doesn't put any touch on the ball, and it gets picked off. So I thought that the Niners, with Trey's passing, they were going to lose. But, I think Trey found a rhythm in the second half, a little bit of a rhythm. But I'm still skeptical about his passing abilities, because there were some throws where you're just why? He was wide open, or you had him, but then he either bounces the ball, he either throws it high, or he takes too long to get rid of it, and it's a sack. But I mean, I know it's the Texans and it was a good win, but I'm worried about the Rams. That's why I was pissed off about the Vikings losing to the Packers, since that pretty much destroyed the backup avenues that the Niners had to make the playoffs. Because if the Vikings would have won, the Eagles would not have clinched, and the Niners would have clinched even with the loss if Philly loses to the Cowboys, which still could have definitely happened. And also if I believe the Saints were to lose to the Falcons. Either one of those teams lose, San Francisco's in. But now with the Eagles gone, it's either win against the Rams or hope the Saints lose to the Falcons. So I don't know, man. I could honestly see the Niners missing the playoffs just because of Trey Lance's raw passing ability.
The good part, Elijah Mitchell had a great day on the ground. So that was we talked quickly about the Niner game.
All right, so I'm back here. So we left off at Saints Falcons, but now we'll talk about the Jets and the Bills game in Buffalo here, and then we'll talk about the Niners and Rams game next. So I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I mean, there's no way that they're going to lose to the Jets. I mean, the Jets, they've played hard until this time, but I think that the Bills are the better team. And Isaiah, you know Robert Saleh very well. I think he's the right coach for the Jets. But I think that they just need the front office just needs to give this roster better talent in the offseason. And I think that in year 2, I think Robert Saleh will right the ship with this defense here, even though this defense is young and rebuilding. And you could actually relate to that when he was here in San Francisco. So what do you want to see from the Jets against the Bills? And do you think that Robert Saleh is the right coach, and who do you want to win this game?
I'll go to your first question first. I mean, I just want to see the Jets be competitive. I mean, I think that's kind of what we want to see. I mean, the Jets have a really young defense. They did have 2 great pass rushers, but they got injured in the off, or even before the season started. I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head, but they got injured, and this defense has been downhill since then. So I didn't really expect much from the Jets defense. I thought that once those guys went down, I mean, you can't win in the NFL if you don't have good pass rushers. Those 2 guys are the Jets' best pass rushers, and they got hurt. So I think next year is going to be like the first chance you can actually judge Robert Saleh, because he's got his pass rushers. He's probably going to get more talent in the offseason, and Zach Wilson will have another season under his belt. So I think that, for the Jets, just be competitive. And for this game, I think that the Bills are going to win, because I certainly do not expect the Bills to rest their players, because they can still win the AFC East. If I believe they could still win, or they could still lose the AFC East. I mean, if they lose and the Patriots win, then I believe the Patriots would leapfrog them and win the AFC East. So the Bills are certainly not going to rest their players. So I think the Bills are going to, they're just more talented with all their starters in. And I think Zach Wilson, his rookie season is going to come to a close on Sunday. And unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to fare. I think he's going to do well, though, because I don't trust the Bills in their pass rush, and their secondary hasn't been good all season long.
And what about you, James? Who do you like between the Jets and the Bills? Oh, you're on mute.
Quickly, that defensive end for the Jets who got hurt in preseason with the ruptured Achilles was defensive end Carl Lawson. And I was remembering him from a Jet fan talking about him. I said, wow, he sounds like a player you can really build around. At any rate, I think the Bills win this game. But again, when it comes to these, as Stephen Wang said, these exhibitions, you just don't want any injuries that will hurt your playoff chances, in the playoffs. Once they have a good lead, they should, put the second string in, treat it like a preseason game. And I agree with Isaiah and Laura. I think you'll agree too. You want the Jets to come in and treat it like a playoff game. You really want to play with pride and say, this is how you'll remember us. We're going to come next year. And here's a reminder of how the 2021 season ended. And if we do well, hopefully it's a good sign going into 2022. And I'm just happy for Robert Saleh. Even though they've won as many games as they have, they showed that they could play with a top team like Tampa Bay today. But it's those little things that they have to get over. They're young, but I still think the Bills win, but hopefully it will be in an easy way for them.
All right, and then Isaiah, and then I already said to Isaiah, so talk about the Niners playing the Rams here. So Isaiah, I mean, talk about the San Francisco 49ers coming at beating the Texans this past today, and they still have a shot at the playoffs if they beat the Rams here.
They do, but it gets really scary now because, like I was telling James, their backup plan to make the playoffs got destroyed. One of them got destroyed today, and that was the Eagles clinching a playoff spot somehow, even though they're 7th and the Niners are 6th, and they clinch it over the Niners. Makes no sense whatsoever, but the Eagles clinched a playoff spot today because the Packers beat the Vikings, thereby eliminating the Vikings from the playoff picture. But I mean, it's I don't know, man. Like the Niners, it was a good win today. Like I was telling James earlier, I was kind of scared in the first half when the Niners were down 7-0 and Trey Lance was looking even worse than Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard looked out there for the 49ers. I was like, oh man, if the Texans score another touchdown here, it might be over. Like 14-0, it might be over right then. But he stepped up in the second half. I still don't really trust his passing abilities because in the second half and when he was, on that roll, he was making, a lot of bad throws and he was staring down receivers, which you can't do in the NFL, and he was getting the ball out really slow. But, it's his first start. He's a rookie. And I think that for Trey Lance, I think he's got to definitely work on his passing abilities because if he's just all run, teams are going to do what the Texans did today, and that is stack the box, put 8-9 guys in the box, stop Mitchell, stop Lance from running, and then make Lance have to throw the football. And, you might be seeing the same thing as what happened in the first half. If the Niners get off to like the start that they had on offense in the first half against the Rams, then the Rams are going to blow the Niners out because you can't go first 4 drives, go 3 and out, all 4 drives. That just can't happen against the Rams. But if Trey Lance is starting, then I think that, I hope with another week of reps, with some game experience under his belt, that he will be able to get better. But I mean, I think that this season is just like a learning experience for the Niners. Like if they make the playoffs, great. But if they don't make it, it's going to be sad because they, fought hard to the very end. But in terms of the game, Laurel, you were talking about with the Niners and Rams, I'm kind of scared, man. I'm kind of scared because I really don't trust Trey Lance's ability to throw the ball right now. And I'm not really that confident in it. And I think that the Rams are going to do what the Texans did, and that is put like 8 or 9 guys in the box to stop Deebo Samuel from running, to stop Mitchell from running, to stop Lance himself from running. And they're going to force Lance to make throws. And when he has guys wide open, he can throw the ball to them easily. But it's about putting the ball, into like tight windows. And when he was doing that against the Texans today, he was awful, man. He looked like he shouldn't even be in the NFL with some of the throws that he was making. Like, it was bad. So, he's got to definitely play better when it comes to passing the ball, or else the Rams will definitely do what the Texans did today. But I think the Niners defense will be able to handle the Rams offense because Kyle Shanahan owns the Rams. When it comes to the Niners defense owns the Rams offense every time. Like even with Jared Goff, even with Matthew Stafford, it doesn't matter. The Niners always seem to have the Rams number on their offensive side of the ball. It's just about how Trey Lance plays. How Trey Lance plays when it comes to passing the ball will really determine who wins this football game.
And then we'll go to James here. Who do you want to win between the Niners and the Rams?
I remember earlier this season, these two met on a Monday night, and that was the first game Odell Beckham Jr. played for LA. And Stafford got pressured into bad throws. He was trying to get Odell involved right away and threw a pick downfield. It was more like a punt, but anyway. Me being cynical, I think the Rams will see what the Bucks and what the Packers do earlier that day will determine how hard they play. Isaiah was saying, their defense frustrates the 49ers a lot, or frustrates the Rams a lot. And Stafford, even though he threw for 2 touchdowns today, he also threw for 2 picks, as I mentioned earlier, and he could be rattled sometimes. And if the running game isn't going with Mitchell, all they have is Kupp. You have a chance to definitely win. So I guess that side of the ball is dealt with, like Isaiah was saying. But it might come all down to the Trey Lance pocket passing or rollout, their rushing game against the Ram defense. But again, I think it all depends what the Packers and what the Bucks do earlier. And I'm looking forward to seeing the crowd at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, because there is a lot of 49er fans that either come down or are in the Southern California area, and they're going to give a big home field advantage for the 49ers, as we see every year. So I imagine that place is going to be loud and crazy for the season finale. I think I'll go with the 49ers.
All right. So,
Lomo, for me,
Go
I'm gonna I forgot to give my pick. But before I gave my pick, I just wanted to say that there is a developing story in the NFL that you guys know that the NFL is doing Saturday night games for Week 18 for some reason, and the Niners and the Rams game is probably going to be one of the games flexed to Saturday night. So that's probably going to be a Saturday night game instead of a Sunday afternoon game.
no, it's not. I got the schedule here, Isaiah, and it's going to be a 4:25 game.
Well, no. So the NFL is going to announce tomorrow, I believe, like the Saturday, because they're going to flex some of the Sunday
They already
games.
did. They already did today. It's the Chiefs and the Broncos, then the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Oh, the Chiefs and the Broncos. You got to be kidding me. That's an awful game, man, to flex. You got to be kidding me. But for my prediction, man, I'm probably gonna say that I want to go with the Niners. I'll go with the Niners because I think their defense will dominate the Rams' offense and give them fits like they always do, and I think that the Niners will be able to run the ball down the Rams' throat like they did last time against the Rams on Monday Night Football. But it all depends on how Trey does passing, because if he could have a little bit of success passing the football, then I think the running lanes will open up. But if he has no success, then oh well. I mean, you're gonna probably have like 1 yard gains every time you run the football.
And then James already got his prediction, right?
Yeah.
Now we go on to our comments here. Casey King is chiming in, and he says, hello, guys, and welcome to James as well, he said. And then Isabel, can't say her last name, she says, don't like neither team. And she also says, go Niners. So, anyways, now let's talk about the Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. And with that being said, I'll go first. I picked the Patriots to win this game. They're going to get revenge on the Dolphins from their Week 1 loss. And with the Dolphins being out, I think that the Patriots are going to want to get a good spot in the playoffs, but the Dolphins are going to have some other ideas as well. And James, I'll go with you next. Who do you like between the Patriots and Dolphins? My pick's the Patriots, of course.
Yeah, I think the Patriots will win, but I'm interested to see how Miami comes out because they're already eliminated. So either they're going to really play for pride, and remember, it's a divisional game, so really anything can happen, right? So I think it would be a close one, but I think the Patriots do enough. When you have a genius like Bill Belichick as your coach, I think he'll find ways to get the team the victory, as he always does, many victories. So I'll go with New England, but it won't be easy. Nothing ever is, of course, but I think I have to go with New England slightly.
And what about you, Isaiah? Who do you like in this game and why?
What was the game again?
Patriots and Dolphins.
Oh, it's gonna be the wow. Ooh, is it in Miami or is it in Foxborough?
In Miami.
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in an upset because the Dolphins always play the Patriots tough in Miami, and Miami's still in the hunt for a playoff spot.
They're not in the playoff spot. They're eliminated from playoff contention.
Okay, with that said, I'm still gonna stick with Miami just because I think that Miami always just gives the Patriots fit, especially down in Miami.
Probably the Patriots could just end up playing the Bills again, which could happen.
In the playoffs, yeah, that'll be cool.
And now we'll talk about the Carolina Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going with my boy Tom Brady in this one. I think that the Panthers are going to wreck the Buccaneers are going to wreck the Panthers here. And Isaiah, who do you like in this game between the Buccaneers and the Panthers?
Give me the Panthers actually, because I don't think the Buccaneers are even going to play their starting players. Because, like James said, why risk injury when you're 1 week away from the playoffs? And this game is kind of meaningless because the Buccaneers know that they're going to be playing in the wild card round. They don't have a bye week. They don't. The number one seed already got clinched by the Packers. So the Bucs are just going to rest Brady. Evans is going to be rested. I mean, like they already had so many injuries. Godwin's out. Antonio Brown. It wasn't an injury, but he's out with. He's not a Buck anymore after his ludicrous thing that he did today. And Fournette's out. So they've have so many injuries. So why risk getting more injuries and more guys being potentially out for the year? So I don't think Brady plays. I think we'll see Blaine Gabbert. And then you're gonna have all the backups just playing in this game. And the Panthers, I think they want to win for Matt Rule because there was a report that came out that David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, was embarrassed by the contract that he gave Matt Rule. And when that happens, that's never good.
What about you, James? Who do you like in this game and why?
Yeah, Isaiah, he took all the points that I had for this game. I think one thing that will stand out, okay, is this the last game Cam Newton will have with the Panthers? And then they've been subbing out quarterbacks the last couple of weeks, and it's been Sam Darnold, it's been Cam Newton. I just want to see somebody stay in the whole game and do well. I think the Panthers win, and like Isaiah mentioned, as I mentioned before, they want to be healthy, and especially again with Godwin out, and then with Antonio Brown and his little ordeal today. They just want to be healthy going into the playoffs, and there's no reason to risk anyone that's starting. So I'll go with Carolina, even though it's in Tampa, but maybe Tampa's backups are better than Carolina's first string. Who knows? But I'll go with Carolina for now.
And all right, so anyways, the last game we're going to talk about is when the Chargers take on the Raiders in Las Vegas. So, anyways, with that being said, here my pick for that one, I'm going with the Chargers to win this game because I think that Herbert is ready for that next step. But I also think that if the Raiders win, I would not be shocked because Derek Carr is due to get into playoffs. Isaiah, go ahead.
I think this game is going to be a shootout because both teams have really good offenses. But the Raiders, they play the offense that they play is kind of like a keep away old school style of an offense. It's not, in modern day offense where they just pass all the time. So I think what the Raiders are going to do is just try to keep the ball away from Justin Herbert and, not allow him to see the field that often. I think that's a good plan because, your defense is not that good. Your defense is suspect. So you might as well just do that and limit the possessions for the Chargers. And, I don't know about the Chargers defense. It's like 1 week they show up and they look good or they look great. And the next week they show up and they look like trash. I mean, this is the same team that gave up 41 points to Davis Mills. So give me the Raiders. I think it's at home. Raiders, it's going to be a sold-out crowd. The Raiders want to see their team, and Raider fans want to see their team in the playoff for the first time since, I believe, 2016. So give me the Raiders. I think the Raiders will win this football game.
All right. So, anyways, with that being said, James, it's your turn now. Who do you like in this one?
This is, I think, honestly, the biggest game of the Las Vegas Raiders history so far. We had openings of the games without fans and with fans. This year, of course, has been just a hell-bound year where we've had coaches leave and players gone, and we've lost legends and whatnot. Uh, the icing on this cake would be a playoff berth. I don't even care if they win a playoff game. I think just getting to the playoffs. I mean, even being over, 500, even though there is no 500, but having a winning record is great for this Raider team. But to have a little dessert and to get to the playoffs would be amazing, and especially against one of your rivals. I'm going to put a little jinx and say the Chargers win, but hoping they won't, because I don't trust myself when it comes down to those things. Again, with exactly Isaiah hit it on the head with the Charger defense. They can be good sometimes. They used to be great, but then they could be downright awful. And with the Raiders, exactly what Isaiah said. Control the time of possession, have the running game going. With Josh Jacobs, he had a little rib injury today, so I'm worried about him coming back, not at full strength, but at, good strength. The backup Barber didn't do so well. Richard did well. And the passing game was there for the Raiders. This game comes all down to Derek Carr. If he does not throw the ball for interceptions or have a strip sack fumble or anything like that, the Raiders should win. And it'll probably be by a field goal again, like many other wins this season, other from against Denver. So, God willing, the Raiders win in my corner, but it's going to be a battle. And I think it's perfect that it's on Sunday Night Football this week or next week coming up.
All right, so we're about to wrap things up here. So, Isaiah, we have Wild Sports Talk returning tomorrow. If you could just confirm it's returning after Monday Night Football tomorrow. And since with Adam Barber being out tomorrow, I will be the one that will be taking over as interim host until he returns.
Yep, that's correct, man. Wild Sports Talk is back from our holiday break tomorrow, and it's going to be so much fun. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about Trey Lance's, home debut and talk about the Antonio Brown situation, because I watched it in real time while at work, and they showed it on the scoreboard, and I was like, what? Like, why is this guy taking off his shirt? I thought because I didn't see exactly what happened, but I couldn't hear it because it was on the scoreboard. But I thought that Antonio Brown got ejected. I thought that's why. I thought he was fooling. And I think James know where I'm going with this. Andrew Bynum when he got ejected.
Yes.
Versus in the playoff game, he just ripped off his shirt, threw it into the crowd. I thought that was what was going on, but it turned out to be completely different from what I thought.
And then what's your final thought there, Isaiah?
Oh, great show tonight. Glad that I got home in time to hop on for a little bit during our picks segment of the show. Ben, we miss you, man. Hope you can come back next week, and hopefully next week I'm really happy and joyful and able to have pop in some cider or some champagne or whatever, instead of crying in tears and heartbroken and depressed because my Niners missed the playoffs because the Vikings screwed us and the NFL screwed us as well with those ridiculous strength of schedule nonsense. I don't even get that. If it comes down to this, why don't we just have the Niners and the Saints play a game to decide the playoff, a play-in game or something like that? Don't do conference strength of schedule, not that nonsense. I just don't like that.
Yeah, and then James, what are your final thoughts on your first Extra Point show? It's great to have you on, and look forward to having you on for more of those shows.
Oh man, thank you. Yeah, for the opportunity, Loro. Thank you, Isaiah, for letting me be here as well. I still remember that Andrew Bynum elimination playoff game for the Lakers. That was the start of their demise, until recently. He gave JJ Barrera a good elbow in the, while JJ was in the air. I always remember that, and they were down like 30 or whatever. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a handful of games, maybe a finger amount of games for Week 18, especially the Raider game, of course, and I'll have my previews on YouTube and then on my Facebook and Instagram stuff. A Chair with James, I also got a podcast there previewing, all the NFL games, but especially the Raider game coming up. Again, it's the biggest game, and I really can't wait for it. After the Colt game today in which we won, I was already ready for Week 18. I was already ready for that Charger game. I was like, when's the next game and what time is it? I'm ready to go. So, again, thank you for having me on here, and I would love to be back. And, I can't wait for the Wild Sports Talk tomorrow. I want to hear everybody's opinion about, Antonio Brown and what we saw today, because that kind of overshadowed the loss of John Madden just a bit, just because it was just very amazing, I think. So, again, thank you, Lovro and Isaiah, for letting me be on here today. And thank you for everybody who's tuning in. And I will see everyone next time.
Yeah, we'll see everyone next Sunday on the Extra Point, and I'll see everyone tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk.
Chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I got what it take to be a champ. Ball's life, you should come and join the camp. Title after title, put my rivals off the map. Thought you had the trophy till I came in for the snatch. I was born in it, not sworn in it.